against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
It's Jerome Corsi. I just heard we've got new Q posts, and I returned to see what's going up. I'm still awake.
Hi,
Indeed,
Doctor.
we do.
Let's see what's happening. I guess I'll need a new. I think I've got the same link to post on the live chat, which should work. So I'm going to post it now. Make double sure I've got the right one. It just posted. I'm back on the live chat to discuss these new links. Let's make sure I've got it right. Okay, hold on. It seems to be fine. I've got it linked okay. So I'm here, and what I've got it linked on the Twitter that I'm back. Tell me about the new post we've just gotten. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
What are the new posts we've just gotten?
Well, 801 shows a tweet from Donald Trump. Says what many people don't understand or don't want to understand is that Wayne, Chris, and the folks who work so hard at the NRA are great people and great American patriots. They love our country and will do the right thing. Make America great again. And that was posted today at 6:30 this morning, 6:31. And then there's an image of the notes. If you notice that, you'll see on the sleeve, it says 45. So we know this is Donald Trump holding notes from the White House. The number 5 says, I hear you. And it shows an image pointing to the SEC test posts from the 21st.
Which number is this? I'm looking at the Q map right now and trying to find it posted.
I think it's 807.
807. All right.
Then Q says, we fill in the blanks. He hears us. We insert something here and show we understand how this works. Whatever the board consensus is, it will be. Oh, maybe that's an anonymous post. And then Q says, you are learning our comms.
Exactly.
Thank you.
We covered this one, I think, earlier today, in that this 5 fingers and the 5x5
SIG, right?
SIG, which number was that in? That was in let's see, earlier.
Yeah, that
803
in the bolded brackets, and there's also 58 spaces there, guys, in the bolded brackets where it says 5x5 SIG.
Yeah. So the next post does talk about the spaces. An anonymous says, good to see you here again, Q. This confirmation feels great. You guys and POTUS are awesome. Thank you again for all of this and everything you at Q and all these amazing anons are doing. Gratitude. Q says, did you count the spaces in the tweet and cross-ref against spaces left here to match meaning?
Well, again, it's an obvious confirmation that Q, Anon, and Donald Trump are working together. I mean, this is another one. It's another confirmation, and we picked this up earlier today that the message from Donald Trump was, "I hear you," and that's the message I think Q is wanting to reinforce, that the Anons are being heard, and they're being heard by QAnon. They're being heard by Donald Trump, and I think this is another. I think we call it a wink or a acknowledgement.
And you got to think, folks, I mean, that sure is an awkward way to hold a piece of paper. You can't call this coincidence. That's 2 random fingers, 3 random fingers. Like, it's just such a weird way to hold a paper. So that's what you call signal communication is what it is.
That's just as random as that bottle of water he was drinking.
Right.
The Fiji water, yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Nothing random about it.
Well, and of course, that Fiji water was a reference to some of the pedophilia issues in Fiji. We covered that. That was quite a while ago. Probably not very long ago, but it seems like quite a while ago.
Yeah,
At any rate, yes, and you notice that Donald Trump has now got embroidered on his shirts the 45.
Yeah.
And so you can tell it's his shirts by the cuff, and that's recent. I mean, that's really the first I've seen of him doing this. And so it's all, I think, a clear acknowledgement and a wink to the Anons, a wink to this board, a wink to the Q research that.
A wink to you as well, Doctor. Don't ever forget.
Well, I appreciate that, but it's not about me. I think it's more about the Anons and the decoding and the work that's being done. And it means Donald Trump and QAnon are listening. And the whole theme today was I am listening. But this particular wink to the Anons, I think, is really significant and indicates that we're in sync with what's being communicated, and we just need to keep continuing.
Hey there, Doc. I'm back.
Great.
I had to step away for a moment, everyone. Glad you joined us.
Well, I was about ready to call it a night, but then I got your email that, the guy Pamphlet's email that there were new posts. I thought I'd come on just before. I was watching the end of Hannity and at CPAC, and I thought Kellyanne did her usual marvelous job. Kellyanne, I think Kellyanne's what I want to be when I grow up. I mean,
she's a treasure, isn't she?
She's just the best. And raising a family, I think she's got 4 kids. At the same time, she's doing all this. So I've known her for a long time. I knew her before she was really involved in the national politics. And she is one of the best. I just can't tell you how much I admire Kellyanne Conway. Okay, so we've got 809 here. Let's take a look at 809. Somebody want to read it?
Is that the timestamp 210501?
Yes, it is.
I'll read it for you. Clowns revealed in China, other 2010, in brackets 187. Sold Intel, HRC open source server, missing emails in brackets, CrowdStrike in brackets, granted access, betrayed, only the tip. This will be made public soon in brackets.
Well, that's pretty interesting. I mean, this clowns revealed in China, CIA in China /other 2010. Does anybody have we figured out what that's a reference to yet? We're probably a little early trying to decipher it.
I found an article, Doctor, that said that there was a bunch of people killed from 2010 to 2012, CIA agents, and that there was fighting in Washington about whether it was because of a mole or because of a hack. So here's the article.
That could be. That's pretty important. This is the first I've heard of this, and maybe it's the fact that intelligence from the Clinton email server was being leaked or sold to China, and the 187 is usually a murder reference, and sold intelligence, HRC open source server. I mean, all that sounds like that's Hillary's responsibility or fault. And we haven't had time enough to sort it all out yet, but it's going to be very interesting to study the articles you found, and I'm sure by tomorrow we'll have a really pretty complete analysis of that.
Another one too. One of my DMs dropped me the link to a Reuters story about the same thing. 2010 to 2012, China killed CIA sources. It's the same thing that the New York Times, just a different angle on it.
Well, if CIA assets were killed because of the Clinton either selling or intentional sloppiness on the Hillary Clinton server, I mean, in which he was obviously transmitting classified information, that's going to be a serious crime.
And I didn't mean to interrupt, but it was saying that there was kind of like bickering within the intelligence agencies, people taking sides. Some people thought that it was hacked emails. So it's interesting.
And missing, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Just a quick comment, slight correction. Moanon had posted an article, really good one, by the way. It's been reading it. They were CIA informants who were killed. And also contemporaneous with this, there was a woman who was doxxed, Valerie Plame, in 2006. And this became a big political issue with Scooter Libby, and he was brought up on charges, as I recall. I don't remember what happened, but
he went to prison.
Scooter Libby went to prison, and it was on this a lot involving this Valerie Plame and her husband, and it was Yellow Cake in Africa, a story on Yellow Cake in Africa.
Yes, that's it. Now, the reason I say that and why this is interesting is that there's something about this story that resonates with me, and I can't put my finger on it. I'm trying to remember, but this issue of the informants getting doxxed, it's like what we see today when they accuse somebody else of something they are doing. So really all we need to do to find out what they were doing is go back and look at what they were accusing everybody else of, and we can probably make a map of exactly what they did.
Yeah, I think we need to research, and probably between now and the morning we'll be able to really pin down the various articles from 2010 about either CIA agents or sources that were disclosed in China, evidently through Hillary emails, that ended up killed. And that's new, and that's going to be explosive. Also, this CrowdStrike. Again, CrowdStrike was the CrowdStrike is different. That's crowdsource I was thinking of with Eric Schmidt. CrowdStrike. How do we interpret that? CrowdStrike granted access, betrayed, owned the tip. This will be made public soon.
They're the ones that got all the intel, right?
Well, CrowdStrike is a public source for. Well, what is crowdsource?
CrowdStrike was Google by Eric Schmidt, and he put two frontmen in who couldn't tie their own shoelaces in charge of CrowdStrike, and then he used it to operate against the Republicans for the Democratic National Committee.
CrowdStrike Incorporated is an American cybersecurity technology company based in Sunnyvale, California, and a wholly owned subsidiary of CrowdStrike Holdings, Inc. The company provides endpoint security, threat intelligence, and incident response services to customers in more than 170 countries. This is related to Hillary Clinton, as I recall.
Weren't they also involved, contracted to research the hacked DNC?
DNC servers, right?
Correct. CrowdStrike essentially ran their server.
No, that was CrowdSource. CrowdSource.
Oh, that was CrowdStrike.
No, CrowdSource.
Yeah, it was CrowdStrike. Fairly sure it was CrowdStrike. Can double check, but I'm fairly sure CrowdStrike was the one they were the ones investigating the server for the DNC. Investigating, quote unquote.
Let's just check that.
CrowdStrike was hired by the DNC.
That's what I thought. They're the ones who got all the intel.
Yeah. Interesting.
It's also why the feds never got to look at those servers.
Exactly. They're the ones that basically told the FBI that they believed they'd been hacked by the Russians.
That's right. It was CrowdStrike. You're right.
Read this note I just pulled down. It's a Tyler Durden article, 3/24/2017. Very interesting.
Okay, well, granted access. CrowdStrike was granted access to the DNC server, and probably also to Hillary servers. Betrayed. I'm sure that these agents or sources in China were betrayed. Only the tip. This will be made public soon. This is going to be a major break in the entire Clinton email crisis. If there's a tie to CIA assets in China somehow or other being killed, that's going to be a whole new dimension to the Clinton email server scandal. I just kind of want to, because I'm pretty beat tonight. I just want to kind of review these. You guys will make progress on them over the night, and we'll come back in the morning and be able to get more on them.
Yes, sir.
This is 810. The traders sold SAPs.
I think referring to Hillary Clinton.
And SAPs are these special access programs which really reveal the names and the identities of U.S. foreign intelligence assets, largely CIA and other intelligence assets. I mean, it's the most sensitive level of intelligence. And what does Q say? Someone want to read it?
He says, for those watching, this should scare you. It's the power that you depend on to survive. Money is worthless without
That's
power.
the wrong one.
You're on the wrong one there, brother. All right.
810.
So the response here is, how do you break up something this big?
Oh, yeah.
What happens if low/mid/senior, non-corrupt in parentheses, patriots learn they were sold out? What happens? Who is waiting with open arms with a plan to reorganize under a single entity with direct oversight by trusted patriots? Who are trusted patriots who understand intel collection? Q.
Well, I mean, it's a suggestion that ultimately we're going to have to reorganize the CIA possibly under military intelligence. How do you break up something this big? If low, medium, senior, non-corrupt patriots learn they were sold out, assets were killed, who is waiting with open arms with a plan to reorganize under a single entity with direct oversight by trusted patriots? Who are trusted patriots who understand intel collection, military intelligence?
Exactly. And then who would be waiting with open arm? Like, okay, say someone like Snowden came forth and they were tired that someone betrayed them. So they were like, well, you turned your back on me and you sold me out, so I'm going to do the same thing. Well, he goes, and then the military intelligence are like, wait, we already have a plan set up. We can do, that's just.
What if it's the military intelligence in China, or no, CIA intelligence in China who were compromised by Hillary? SAP access, they were disclosed, some were killed, they were betrayed. And now Q is saying in this 810, this one at 210607, that basically military intelligence is ready to pick up the pieces and reorganize this for security and take it out of the hands of the State Department, out of the hands of the CIA. I mean, this is a fairly, again, reinforcing the idea of the extent to which military intelligence is increasingly involved. And I think ready to take over so that the clowns in the State Department can quit with the political messing up of our foreign assets in intelligence. It's a very sensitive and important question. I mean, 811, let's read because Q repeats again his 810 and adds to it and says, want to read it?
I'll read it. For those watching, this should scare you. It's the power you depend on to survive. Money is worthless without those in power serving you. White House, military, patriots. Ready to play? Q.
Well, I think that pretty much says it all. That that once this is going to be disclosed, the desire of the American people to trust the military, trust the patriots, the White House, over the CIA, over the State Department, over Hillary Clinton, the New World Order, traitors. This is going to be an important part of the end game. And Q is warning that it's beginning to start. That we're now going to find out some new information that will add a whole new dimension to Hillary's email crisis.
Pamphlet, I think, had a really good interpretation of it.
Go ahead.
Sorry, which one? 812?
Yeah,
11. Watching.
811.
Oh, I'm
ready
sorry.
to play
My GitHub is misnumbered for some reason. It skips 811. All right. So for those of you watching, it should scare. Okay. Yeah. So basically, thoughts on this one is previous post discusses the intelligence community essentially coming under one roof, likely, in my opinion, the NSA's roof, under oversight of trusted patriots who understand intel collection and obviously care about their country. So that in mind, Q says, those watching, this should scare you, referring to the intel community being taken over by patriots. It's the power you depend on to survive. And the power, I think, is referring to the power of the intel community propping up all of the, essentially a deep state. It goes on to say, money is worthless without those in power serving you.
Can I make a quick comment? This is a technology. It was a technology development that was released last year. It was a quantum satellite that was launched by China. The advantage of a quantum satellite is there's no line of sight involved. It's spooky action at a distance, and they're measuring a spin on an electron, a quantum particle. And what makes that interesting, what makes that interesting here as it relates, what makes us powerful, where does our power come from? It comes from our advances in space, which ties together the other Q posts that have to do with SpaceX and other technologies. And the reason I bring it up is if they were selling the technology back in 2010 for quantum tunneling, which would seem to make sense, then it would take about 4 or 5 years to develop the tech, and it would take you another year to get it on a bird and stick it up. So it seems to me that actually might be the issue that's being talked about here.
I think that merits a lot of consideration. And it also seems to me to be a signal that the two losers are going to be the CIA and the State Department.
Right. And that's what I get when he says, those watching this should scare you. Because they're watching these boards, guys.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it's saying. I think it's saying to all those bad actors out there watching this, because we know they are, the previous post should scare you.
Yep. And then he says the White House, and then military, and then patriots. That means POTUS, Q, us. This is the freaking keystone that's about to knock this thing out.
These three posts
What's the first letter in that communication technology? It's called Q, quantum.
Yep.
I think those three posts are very connected. They start with Clinton selling out SAPs. You end up with a lot of disgruntled and bitter patriots looking for somebody with open arms to reorganize. And the message is that a consolidated intelligence community full of patriots should scare the people with the money who have been surviving on a corrupt, quote unquote, power of intelligence communities.
And that's how I took it, that it wasn't just China that he was talking about there, that it's all the white hats that were going to come forward. And they're like, well, guess what? Military's already got a plan. And so if we'll just follow with that.
Dr. Corsi, it's 10:30 for him. He just came in for a minute. We're going to hash all this out when he's not here. We need to get through 8:12 and the last one and tell him good night.
Touche. I like that.
Thank you. And I think that the losers at 8:11 are going to be the State Department and the CIA. I think that's what's signaled. And the winners are going to be military intelligence with the NSA in a new configuration. And it's very interesting, this idea of the quantum advances in the satellites. We should look at that. But clearly, this is all involving a new dimension of understanding the national security implications of Hillary Clinton's traitorous email server. 8:12.
Yeah, sure. Hold on.
Where's 8:11?
We just did 8:11. We just did 8:11.
All right.
I can read it if you want.
Please.
Yep, go ahead.
They want you divided. Divided is all in capitals. How can some be so blind? Help them wake up. Estimated 20 million reached. Question everything. Keep talking. Stand up. Fight, fight, fight. How do they control children? Question mark. What prevents a child from revealing the truth? Question mark. Q.
Well, this is kind of interesting. It seems to suggest it's going to tie back into the Florida shooting. And how do you control children, keep them scared? I think it's going to be, how do they want you divided? How can some become so blind to think you've got to give up guns? Estimated 20 million reached. I'm not sure what that means at the moment.
Well, maybe that we've reached 20 million, like as a group. I know the traffic stat says 22 million from what I could see, but that's not quite counting YouTube and anything at all.
That's just Reddit.
Maybe 20 million minds.
We may have reached 20 million, which would be a pretty amazing number.
Really would be incredible.
It's getting close to the 10% you need.
You know, it just as an anecdote, and I was mentioning this the other night. I was coming back from a trip to China, and in the Uber on the way over to my place, he was listening to CBTS, and he was listening to it on his phone, tied into his Bluetooth on his car, and that was such a strange thought. It's like, no, don't turn it off, turn it up.
Yeah, I mean, today on the live chat I did on the YouTube, it was amazing. There were people plugging in from all over the world. Australia, New Zealand, Cuba, the Scandinavian countries, UK, Wales. I mean, Sweden. It was all over the world. African countries. I mean, I was astonished at how many people around the world are really listening, and understanding that the message applies to them too. It's a phenomenal awakening that's going on.
It's humbling.
And this idea of reaching down to children, this is very important. And I think what Donald Trump did today. Go ahead. What Donald Trump did today was extremely courageous, turning the narrative into the need to harden targets and have concealed carry within the schools. This is the only solution to protecting the children. And the children need to be protected, and they want to be protected. Gun-free zones are not going to do it. They're invitations to psychopaths. Please attack here. We've got to be sophisticated in understanding of how psychopaths perceive gun-free zones. Let's do this last one quickly, and I'm going to catch up with you in the morning. 8:13.
Sure.
Go ahead.
People kill people. You're watching a movie. They want you weak, slave, sheep, distraction. Q.
Well, that clearly ties it into the shootings and what we're experiencing right now. I mean, these are a very important set of posts. And I'm going to beg off tonight because I'm pretty much exhausted after all I've done today. And I'll catch up with you in the morning, but I think you'll make great advances in deciphering them. And I'm very appreciative to all the Anons who are working so hard on this, so tirelessly, 24 hours a day. And here and Q Research Board, both I think I deeply appreciate. And we want to do a shout out to Q. Thank you for listening, and thank you for your guidance. God bless all. We'll catch up with you in the morning.
You're doing
Thank you, Dr. Corsi. Thank you, Doctor.
God bless you.
God bless.